Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Neoteran Herald Weekly, the episode in our series. We are coming to you at the beginning of the 28th week of the 6th year in our Erowenium dispensation of the Neoteran calendar. I don't want to take too much time because this is a pre-recorded version of our weekly podcast, and therefore it's going to be much shorter than the more interactive live session that will begin going out on Saturday afternoon as we head toward the first day of the week. So this is the 9th episode of the 28th week. And my name is Astrology Jorogewa Homewa Rugogo, your personal astrologer, and the Neoteran Herald Weekly is your weekly guide, it's your weekly podcast, shows you what is essential about the week. Yes, I agree. Today we are coming to you at the beginning of the fourth day, and therefore there is a bit of hiatus. Now, one of the things we're going to be doing today is we're going to not only introduce a lot of new elements and movie sections to this, which we consider the second season of Neoteran Herald Weekly, although we're going on with the same sort of episodes. The episode numbering is continues from what we were doing last year and a little bit at the beginning of the year, but we're doing things differently, and we want to encourage interactivity. I want you to look out to any one of the four corners of this video, and there will be some codes, names that will appear in order. There will be three of them. These three words spell out a phrase, and the first 5 people to connect and type the 3 codes, the 3 code words, and the phrase they spell at the end of the video will win themselves a massive 75% discount on an astrological profile of their choice on this week, provided it is done before the end of the week. And as I've noted, first 5 people, once you see the 3 codes, you have to watch them progressively. They appear for different periods of time in any one of the 4 corners. Connect the 3 words together, spell out a phrase, type it out in the comment section. The first 5 comments that are correct will earn themselves, as I said, a 75% discount on any astrological profile that is available on our WhatsApp catalog. So keep on looking and let's go ahead. Now, the first thing we look at, as always, is what now we are calling planetary dimensions. Planetary dimensions are the various measures of planetary bodies as they go through the celestial heaven, the terrestrial, and align with the terrestrial world, and we express them in these angular measures to be able to understand what signs are there, which houses are they in, and what phases of their cycles are. Every one of these things has some importance. If I can highlight something that is a new thing, is that now we're talking about celestial dimensions, not planetary alignment. So this goes back even to the last episode. And what is need to notice, these are dimensional week 28, but the heavens, and I realize that I'm not pointing out the particular ones, so we call them celestial planetary dimensions, and they are of 2 varieties. They are celestial dimensions and they are terrestrial dimensions. So celestial dimensions is what is shown in blue, and terrestrial dimensions show them in an earthy brown, and in between we do have one category that sort of joins the two categories of alignments, and that is what we call the Neoteran equatorial declination. If any one of the dimensions does not have Neoteran at the beginning of it, that means that category or that dimension is understood within Neoteran astrology in much the same way it is understood in other astrological systems or even in astronomical circle studies. So these are the planets. They are the sun. As you can see, it's here in a house Habizelda. Sorry, to show that clearly. Habizelda here, which is usually a marker of the beginning of the around the seventh month. That's when we get there, because seven is of course Saturday, the seventh house, and therefore the marker of the seventh month. The month does not begin where the sun is in Habizelda. Usually it begins or it's in the previous house, and then that happens. And if you look at the characteristic of this month, the adjectival description of it is that this is the Aquarian month. We're going to come to that because we're going to display that the calendar, the 7th-month calendar, as you go to the weekly highlights. Now, to provide proper context, we don't just give you the planetary dimensions for the week, but we should look at the 7th week, the preceding week, the previous week, and if you look at this is the 27th week, and these are the alignments as you want last week. I'm not going to any one of the details here because these are basically just measures that help you understand what junctions, what sort of motion, and what sort of alignment either with a celestial grid or with a terrestrial grid of measures each planet is at. I'm not going to go into one of the details here, but we'll look at something else that is new, that has been new since at least the last episode, and that is our look at the zodiacal planetary order. Now, because the dimensions as they are given in the previous graphic, they are given in order of precedence, but not in the order the planets appear across the zodiacal circle or pathway. But here, that's how they appear here, beginning with the foremost one, which is the anti-solar point at this point in time, is just moved into house 1. Of course, it's very opposite of the sun, and it go all the way to the lunar descending, which is in the 12th. To understand better this alignment, is you also look at the planetary maps, and this is the planetary maps as you see of the major planets as they are. These are the major planets in the celestial heavens. This is the 28th week, 7th week, but you can look at the 27th week. Now, one of the things you do to take notice of is that these being the major planets, their transits are quite often, they happen in quick succession, and therefore from one week to another you can be able to notice that change. So I'm going to switch in between week 27, as you can see, and then you go to week 28, and you can see how much they're changing, and you can see literally all of them are moving in progress. But a distinct highlight here is, if I go back to what I hope I can display here, you can see this planet. This is Mercury. It's in retrograde, but yet when we move to week 27 and then move to 28, it seems to be moving forward. This is because the retrograde of Mercury is calculated very differently. We're going to have a more in-depth episode, one of the changes that we are making to how we express or we show the motions of other planets, that will be describing these, you'll be giving, I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought there, but I'm saying one of the changes we are doing for the second season of Neoteran Herald Weekly is we will be giving greater details about the concepts that we teach, and when we teach them, one of the things we will cover is the motion, the planetary motion and alignment of a planet like Mercury and its sister Venus. They are special class of planets, and it pays for us to understand how they work. So that will explain. When we get to that episode, we'll explain Why is it that we can say planet Mercury is in retrograde, yet we look at its motion across the heaven, it seems to be moving in progress, moving like other planets are. Now let's take a look at the minor planets for week 28, and this is how the minor planets and the three planetary points that are viewable across the sky, again for sake of explaining that the planets are the anti-solar point, the lunar descending node, and the lunar ascending node. Then we have these other 6 planets here: Vesta, Ceres, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Aries. And most of the minor planets, actually all of them, are what we call outer planets in astronomy, and with the very exception of Vesta and Ceres, which are found between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, the rest of the minor planets are quite slow in their motion, and therefore from one week to another don't make much change. And if I switch to week 27, if I can do that, that is week 27, other minor planets, you'll see basically other than planet Ceres, Vesta, and their anti-solar point, there isn't much change between the two. And I think there is a bit of misnomer. Yeah, that is exactly how the changes are. The anti-solar point is the planetary point you find here, and this is Ceres, and this is Vesta. They are making those what we don't have any one of the minor planets either at standstill or at retrograde at this point in time, but maybe that is going to change over the coming few weeks. So those are the minor planets and minor planetary points. I hope you continue watching out for the codes that we are talking about, and once you see them, take note of each word and make sure that you take note of that and you give us the full phrase for 75% discount. As I said, these 3 words that make up a phrase appear somewhere in one of the 4 corners of the video. They'll appear for some minutes, then disappear. Give the 3 of them, be among the first 5, get a 75% discount on your astronomical natal chart. So those are the planetary maps for week 28. Now what we want to look at is the calendar for this month, and this is the calendar for the 7th month in the Neoteran calendar in the year 6 Errorenium, and this is the Aquarian month. It was born at a conjunction happening in house number 6 at the beginning of house number 6, which is the domain of the host Aquarius or the water carrier. Usually, often you find that month 7 can usually be Aquarian or it can be Piscean because there are 2 hosts within house 6. And when you look at these, the days in the calendar, that you see, of course, there is this essential day. One of the markers of the 7th month is that we have to have this particular day, which is the day of ascendant equinox. It can happen on any day. It can be the first day of the month, the last day of the month, on any day of any days in between. But a sacrosanct rule of our calendar is that that day has to be within month 7. Another thing to note here is, of course, this is the month of Passover, and Passover is the 15th of the month, a Friday. And much like last year, we have the 5th of the month and the 15th of the month coinciding with a Friday at the middle of the week. So both Good Friday from a Christian perspective and Passover from a Hebrew or Jewish perspective happen to fall on the same day. And of course, Christians also will mark Resurrection Sunday 2 days, or 2 days later after Passover. So all of that is happening this week. These are much of a highlight, but of course, we are talking about week 28, and of course, Resurrection Sunday does not take place on week 28, but rather at the beginning of week 29, the first day of week 29. So there is the calendar. If you want a full calendar, contact us. It's possible you get yourself a calendar. Let's look at the highlights now for the week. Let's look at a highlight. But before we go to that, let's look at a small section, because this is a sort of an intermediary episode, and we are talking about many shifts that have happened since we met episode 8. And the first one is that, of course, the sun has changed a lot. It has moved to the light or ascendant period. Now, the motions of the sun across a solar year can be understood to have two shifts or two periods, and these are half cycles, the dark and the light. So the last episode we did was while the sun was still in the dark part of the celestial heavens, that means below the equator. And now we have come to the ascendant or AC period, or that is, and this is the third season. There are 4 seasons of the planetary cycle of the sun, and that is what we call the positive ascent phase or positive ascendant phase, ACT. This shift took place on the equinox, the day of equinox, and that happened a couple of weeks ago. It was a Friday, the first of the 7th month of the year 6 Errarium. Now, one of the things we're talking about for March of season 1 is the planetary standstill of these planets, Saturn, Vesta, Ceres, Uranus, and Neoteran. They're in the third quadricell of the celestial heaven, and that standstill has come to an end. It's a major shift that's happened. Another shift that has happened is that Jupiter, within just the past few weeks, it has finished its retrograde and standstill phases that were all happened within celestial house number 10. Now, the phase of any planetary retrograde season is sandwiched between 2 standstills. Planetary standstills are very, very essential. But one of the things that we have not covered much, we have not uncovered, one we have not unveiled and programmed, are the planetary standstills of what we call masculine planets or outside planets, other than the synodic ones. Synodic ones we understand very well. But these tropical ones that follow the tropical shifts to display their creative cycles, we've not done them. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about planets like Jupiter, Mars, Saturn. Saturn have done plenty of work, but others like the minor planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Ceres, and the aforementioned Vesta, we've not done a lot of work, and that is what we are going to continue on doing. Now, let's look at another major shift, is that Saturn has also completed. This is a very, very great and important change that has happened within the last few weeks, and it could be defining, age defining. It could be age defining, the change that has happened with regard to planet Saturn. So this is very, very essential. So Saturn has completed its retrograde transit through Habizelda and through Neoteran celestial house number 6, and is on a definitive prograde transit of Habizelda. That means we cannot associate Saturn through this cycle with the house 6 any longer. All the dispensations, every one of the virtues and strength and anything that will be given from planet Saturn, either in retrograde or prograde transiting through house 6, has been done for this cycle. We have to wait for another complete cycle to happen in about 29 to 30 years time to get to this period. That means something that happened last week that would only have happened over the last 2-3 weeks. the next time such a window opens, 29 to 30 years. That's why it is essential we keep track of every one of these sheets. They're essential. Some of them are once in a lifetime opportunity. So what does this mean, by the way? Not much, by the way, at a personal level. Now, but what it means at the corporate level is this definitive. When we call it definitive, we say there'll be no return to the preceding house. Saturn is not returning in its time in this cycle, not saying that it will never ever return, but within, for the purposes of this current present cycle of planet Saturn, is no going back to house 6. And it marks a shift, a change in priestly authority or priestly generation. If you want to understand more, today I was talking to our dad, Apostle Randy Wasanga. A lot more of this is going to be explained on Friday when we meet for the Passover. Wanted to release, actually, my idea was that I will release an episode trying to explain some of these things to more detail, but I've been corrected. Those who want to know much more about this appear in person during what we have been inviting people over for of this Friday. Okay? Now, this is only the second sheet. This is the only, and that means during the Neoteran age, as long as the Neoteran astrology and its calendar has existed, we have only witnessed one other shift. A priestly shift has not been given more than once. This is the second time we are experiencing this. And priestly shifts are very, very crucial. They have consequence. They mark important transition through time. And it is important that we take note of them. So thank you. I don't think I give any more emphasis to that point other than what I've given. Now, sorry, some of these what are not taking place in our. So we go to the Neoteran astrology highlights for the week. And the first one is that Venus will undergo a prograde, or rather it's already happened. The prograde transit of Venus into house 8, and that means from house 7 to house 8. That the prograde way, in progressive way, happens, that takes place on the day that has passed, Wednesday, the 13th of the 7th month, is the 7th. In the 6th regnum year, there's a problem that we need to correct those. The dates we are not talking about. Let's talk about so much about 7. But I start indicating that we are in the 7th month. Let me just correct that very, very quickly, because those are not, that is not year 7, but year 6. The same with this one, we're talking about year 6, not year 7. Okay, good. And therefore, there's one other astrological highlights, and that is the retrograde phase. The retrograde, the infrasolar morning star phase of Mercury's retrograde transit. It ends with a standstill on Passover. It's rare that you have a Passover standstill that is also happening on Passover, especially over such a crucial planetary body as planet Mercury. Now, we are coming to the end of a session and we are introducing something new. It will be new for week 28. I see my graphics talks about week 21. I want to correct that before it is displayed on your screen. Week 28 is this new table is a table that shows lunar transits or lunar events that are associated with the moon. The moon is the most active, you could say the most promiscuous of all planetary bodies. And therefore, it goes lots of alignments and changes and transits over there. period of just 1 week. And we're going to be looking at them in some detail as we go to the future. I'll just mention these ones, give a little bit of an explainer. The first one, Sunday 10, already happened. Conjunction of the moon with planet Jupiter, house 10. And on 13th, that is Wednesday, that is as past, the moon made what we call a descendant transit, celestial descendant transit across the celestial descendant or DC gateway point. Now, other alignments, they are all oppositions of various planets. The opposition of Venus takes place on Wednesday, and Thursday there is a lunisolar opposition. Again on Thursday, there is also another planetary opposition with Saturn, and on Friday we end up with a planetary opposition, the lunar opposition of planet Mars. So these are the highlights. These are the highlights across the entire 28th week. I hope you have got everything that is covered. I hope you got the 3 code words and spelled out the phrase. I ascertained that they appeared on the screen for long enough to enable you do what you have to do. Now, one thing that you have to do on Thursday evening, as you head towards Friday, we have a live event. The details will be shared in our astrological community. Join us. Let's welcome this Passover. It's unprecedented. It's of a nature of such a manner as you've never had before. God bless you. Have an amazing rest of the week. Let's meet on Saturday for the live, more interactive session of Neoteran Herald Weekly. I remain your personal astrologer, Jiroge Wahon.